What if the only thing standing between you and being heard in the boardroom isn't your title or years of experience, but rather the way you carry yourself when you walk into the room? What if you didn't have to over-explain yourself or shrink up or even second guess every word that you say? But instead, you showed up with the kind of confidence that makes people lean in when you speak. In this episode, you're going to learn 3 anchors that will help you project confidence in any boardroom, ranging from how to own your presence, why preparation is power, and how to turn that nervousness into energy. Now, you might be wondering, who is this woman out here giving these tips and this info? Well, my name is Dominique, but you can call me Dom because we're friends now. I was born and raised right here in Detroit. I do hold a bachelor's degree in leadership and organizational studies, and I've also spent over 13 and a half years working at a Fortune 500 company where I had worked over 7 different positions within one company. And it is a very male dominated industry. And even to go a little bit further, I did start as a temp agent and I worked my way up. And as I was working my way up to the different positions, many of those times I was placed into new positions without even interviewing. I still had to interview for some, but the majority of them I didn't, which actually taught me a lot about confidence and being adaptable. The goal of this channel is simple. I just want to empower working professionals on how to navigate the business world, whether you are climbing the corporate ladder or you're blazing your own trail in entrepreneurship. I want to be that example that I wish I had during my tenure at that company. And I want to make sure that you have the tools, the stories, and the strategies that could really help you thrive. When it comes to how people perceive your confidence, the actual words you use matter the least. Only about 7% of what you say matters. Now, this is not to dim down that you need to have the proper language to actually deliver what you're saying. So message sent is message received. But really what makes the biggest difference is your body language. And I'm talking about things like posture, facial expressions, and eye contact. And I can even say this, when I first started corporate America, I had a lot of facial expressions. I'm talking frowns, like what? Like I was just doing too much. And I would do really well in the role. However, one of the most consistent pieces of feedback that I would get is your physiology. And I'm like, can you please give me an example? Because it's just natural for me to show expression. And at first I was combating it because I'm like, well, you want me to be a robot? Like, what is this? However, it just has more of a neutral stance when you are more mindful of how you are posturing yourself and your facial expressions and the eye contact. You want to make sure that people are not getting distracted by the facial expressions and those of the sort, because you want to make sure that they hear you and you hear them. But more than anything, that really accounts for more than half of how your confidence can come across. So physiology is around like 55%. And then the rest is about 38%, which is the tone of your voice. It can range from things like your pitch, your pace, and how much energy you put behind your words, right? So you want to make sure that you are, again, making sure the message sent is the message received. You don't want to be aggressive, but you also don't want to be just like, yeah, well, I think this is like, no, you have to be strong and stand your ground in that so that you can have confidence. Now, I will say that this does take work because sometimes I can even, lack confidence, especially when it comes to if I'm not properly prepared, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I just want you to be mindful of knowing that you have to be mindful of these things. And when you're in the boardroom and as you're applying these things, it's just a little step at a time. Okay. So if you really want to project confidence in the boardroom, I want you to start with your posture. Sit up straight, shoulders back, okay? And I want you to look people in the eye when you're talking. Your body is already doing most of the talking before you even say a word, right? I am able to communicate with you where I am standing tall, up straight, feeling good. I'm looking at you. I want you to understand what I'm saying. I'm speaking slow. Now, sometimes I may speak fast, but I try to reel that in, especially when you know that you're talking fast. See, I said, I got to get rid of that. We'll talk about that too. More so than anything, just stand your ground and know that you know the work. You know what you're talking about. You got this. But let's start with that physiology or that posture and making sure that you are sitting up strong so that they can really see you stand out in the boardroom. All right, so I said that I was going to give you 3 anchors. The first anchor is presence over perfection. It's not about saying everything perfectly, but it's more so about how you show up. Again, remember, we talked about posture. You want to make sure that you are sitting with your feet flat on the floor and your shoulders are rolled back. You want to make sure you're being taken serious. There has been plenty of meetings where I've seen people like fold their legs into the chair and get comfortable. And I'm like, what are we doing here? And if you have a comfortable setting where it's one-on-one and it's not truly a formal meeting, you could do that, right? Because you have that comfortability with that person. But I'm talking about when you are talking to other business folks who are about their business, you're having a very serious conversation. This is not something to play with. You just want to show up right. Again, so making sure you sit with your feet flat on the floor, no swinging your legs underneath there. That's distracting. And then you want to make sure your shoulders are rolled back. Okay. The second thing you want to do with that is you want to make sure, again, you're having eye contact. Now, I will say for me, I used to have a hard time making eye contact, and that's because I was not as confident as I should have been at that time. But also it has something to do with self-esteem. So you do have to do some inner work there. Make sure you are looking people in their eyes and making sure you're not going all of every which way when you're talking to people, because they're like, what is going on here? And even if you need to look at someone and make eye contact, you don't have to look at them for a long time. You can look at someone else. Make sure that you're looking at everybody in the room so that they know that you see them and you're also talking to them. Okay. And when you are making this eye contact, make sure that you have an open stance instead of crossing your arms. Don't cross your arms like this. A lot of people will say like, oh, I'm cold, or I just do that. No, you got to find something else. A lot of people talk with their hands. You will find me talking with my hands a lot, but you don't want to cross your arms. It really can come off as, oh, I'm not hearing what you have to say. And sometimes, again, I'll be in a conference room and I'll cross my arms and then I'll just kind of like slowly uncross them because I just keep that in the back of my mind. And then the third thing that you could do to help you with your physiology when it comes to this is to do like a 2-minute power pose before walking in. Okay. And I'm talking about just making sure you're mindful. Like, don't go in there and then try to do the pose, but make sure that you are already practicing before you get in there so you can be ready. Anchor number 2, preparation is power. When you know your material, confidence is going to follow you naturally. Okay. And so when you prepare, the best thing and the best actions you could do is 1, write down 2 or 3 points you want to contribute to before the meeting. Okay. And so in order for you to do that, it is very necessary for you to research the topics or look at the agenda and look at the PowerPoints, or not even the PowerPoints, I'm sorry, the bullet points and what you'll be talking about. Now, many times I know that some people may not even provide an agenda. So you're like, why are we actually having this meeting? So when there is no agenda, please make sure you're reaching out to the organizer of the meeting to say like, hey, I noticed there wasn't an agenda. Can you give me a heads up or a preview of what we will be discussing in this meeting so that I can properly prepare for the conversation? That is one of the best things that you can always do when it comes to helping you prepare. In addition to that action item, make sure you are researching at least one statistic, one trend, or one fact that you can reference. This goes to show that you are invested in knowing the business and knowing the industry. And again, it doesn't have to necessarily be directly tied to the PowerPoints. This would be really good because you can integrate it into one of the points you're making. But if it's still just, you can make it a conversation piece, but not too heavy on it, because there are some meetings where people are very stickler and they don't want to have any kind of sad chat outside of what's on the agenda, right? So you do have to honor people's time, but you can have just at least one of those stats, trends, or facts that will help be like, oh, that's interesting, I didn't know that. Or, talk about a LinkedIn post, or you have Yahoo, you have Google, you have so many different resources that you can reference when you are creating this additional conversation piece. And then the last thing when it comes to preparing is making sure that you anticipate at least one question and make sure you have prepared your response. Okay, so when you have those 2 or 3 points that you want to contribute to, think about some of the frequently asked questions that people may ask, like, oh, well, did you check on this? And what did they say about that? So you just want to make sure that you have some responses ready. And it's not to say like you're going to know what people are going to ask, right? Because we're not mind readers. However, there are some common questions, or most common questions, that are going to be asked based off of the information that you provide. And so when you have that answer to that question, that just goes to show again that you know your stuff and you're being confident. Anchor number 3, reframe your nerves as energy. Now, nerves and excitement can feel the same in your body, but the good news is you are in control of whether it's nervousness or excitement, because it's all about how you label it. So some of the things that you can do is, before you're walking in, replace the words "I'm nervous" with "I'm excited." I'm talking a little bit of a smile. Now, it may seem fake, and sometimes people say, hey, you got to fake it till you make it. But really, it's about talking to your subconscious and really telling yourself, like, I'm excited for this opportunity. It's all about how you position yourself and be able to train your mind so that you are saying more so, I'm excited, rather than I'm nervous. Because if you say I'm nervous, then that's when you're going to keep eating at that thought and that feeling. And that's not what we want when you're walking into the boardroom. Okay. Another thing that is really helpful is using a breathing method that works for you. Okay. And so again, this is just tips and things that has worked for me. I personally have dealt with anxiety. And so what really helps is a breathing technique. Now, everybody, please make sure that you're using something that works best for you, but also, I am not a doctor. Please consult with your doctor before you're doing these things, and consult with a physician, because again, these are just things that I am sharing based off my experience. But I want to get back to the breathing method that I like to do is called like 4-4-4 breathing method, where you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, and then you exhale for 4 seconds. And that really just helps me. And I'll even do that 4 times. Okay, so it's called the 4-4-4 breathing method. I have been to a lot of breathing workshops where that has been implemented. I'm like, okay, I like this one. It helps me, but just knowing what works for your body, right? Because a lot of times when we're nervous, we get stuffy, we can't breathe, we're not breathing through our mouth or anything. So we want to make sure that we are breathing. And so the best way to do that is just reset and go ahead and implement one of those breathing methods. Okay. And then in addition to that, the last action item for this is to channel your nervous energy into gestures instead of fidgeting. So what I mean by that is, again, use your hands a little bit, right? You don't want to fidget too much or move too fast or be picking up or moving a pen and making all that noise. Now, I will say there is a fidget tool that I also used to use. I have to find it, but more so it was to kind of help because it would be like a little push button, a little clicker and all that. But also you don't want to have too many distractions going on. And I understand that everybody has different nerves. We can't all be the same, but just try not to fidget as much. Just make sure that you are maybe using your hands when you're speaking. Again, that is a really good one because a lot of people use their hands when they talk. I want to leave you with 3 mistakes to avoid when it comes to having confidence in the boardroom, okay? The first one is over apologizing or softening your language. Now, when I say over apologizing, I'm talking about always saying, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, no, don't do that. It's okay. It's okay. It's going to be okay. You don't have to over apologize. Now, if something was a true mistake, just say my apologies for that delay or that glitch. Let me handle this and then keep moving. Okay, but don't focus on all of your mistakes. Just go ahead, apologize and keep the ball rolling, but make sure you're not over apologizing because it does make the others look at you like this person don't know what the heck they doing. Like, what? Like, just be careful with that. And also softening your language. So more so of talking like this. And I don't know, or I guess, or no. Be strong in the verbiage. Another mistake you want to avoid is speaking too fast or too softly. So again, I talk about the too softly. Now, I know that there are some people that say to speak softer so people can lean in and hear you. But when you are building your brand and your reputation, when you speak softly, especially if you have other people that are louder in the room, they're not paying attention to you. They're not. And so it could really be off-putting when you're speaking like this and it's like, what? What did you say? Can you speak up? You just never know. I haven't personally found that to work for me, but maybe it works for others. But also making sure you're not speaking too fast. When you are speaking too fast, other people in the room are not able to process what you are saying. Now, I'm not saying speak slow like this, okay? But I am saying to speak at a moderate or a little bit faster pace so people can interpret what you're saying, process what you're saying, and then go from there. Now, there are going to be some people, everybody processes different, but if they ask you to maybe say it in a different way, that's completely different when you have to reword something versus your pace. But you want to make sure that you're speaking at a pace where everybody is able to pick up what you're saying. I do know also that sometimes there are people that hey, get to the point. Again, I'll share some tips with you later on about that in a different episode. But you want to make sure that you are answering the questions first and then giving the fluff, which is a completely different tip, but more so of just making sure that you are speaking at a good pace so people can pick up what you're saying. And also they're not trying to rush you through your through whatever statement you're making. And then the last thing is that you want to avoid is confusing confidence with arrogance. Okay. You can be confident and not arrogant. Okay. You want to make sure that you are showing up properly. You want to show that you did the work, that you know how to thoroughly explain whatever topic you're talking about. Just go in there knowing your stuff. It's not about you being arrogant or thinking you know everything. No, you still want to go into the room with an open mind and an open heart, and you also want to have open dialogue. However, you want to make sure you are going in there with the proper pose, proper mindset. Okay. My final thoughts for this episode, that I really hope that you enjoyed this, but more so, I want you to be able to take away that confidence isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most grounded. So I really want you to practice one of the 3 anchors this week in your next meeting or conversations. Okay. So again, those 3 anchors is 1, presence over perfection. 2, preparation is power. 3, reframe your nervousness as energy. Pick one of those 3, and I want you to apply it. And if you want to dive deeper, I do want to make sure that I'm helping set you up for success. So I did create a free 1-pager that is called 5 Anchors of Boardroom Confidence. It is going to give you the strategies that we talked about, plus some quick action steps you can use right away. So there is more on that document. The link is going to be in the description below. Just make sure you enter your email and I will send it directly to your inbox, okay? And last but not least, make sure you let me know in the comments which anchor you're going to try first. Is it presence, preparation, or reframing your nerves? And make sure that you subscribe, like the video, give me feedback so that you don't miss the next episode and I can know what I need to talk about, what I can do better on, because feedback is a gift. And we're going to cover some additional tips and tricks later on in the next episode. And of course, last but not least, I want to give you an affirmation that I want you to talk to yourself about, okay? Because I know we talked about mindset and we're talking about confidence, but I want to leave you with this affirmation. You ready? I belong in every room I walk in. You are worthy. All right, so I can't wait to hear from y'all. Take care of yourself. Until next time. Bye.